So I wanted to talk to you guys about self-care. I just finished my semester. I'm putting my PhD on pause, and that's part of my self-care too, is to know when you need to take those breaks and when you need to just focus on yourself. Another thing that I really do for self-care is I paint. And I think painting batiks and watercolors can really help me with self-care because it takes time to dry, it gives me time to reflect. I have a lot of enjoyment with the flow of the paints and everything. And I also think that it's really important to take that time to be creative. My kids were always had their own things. My oldest was into drawing, painting. My middle child was always into dance and music a lot. Well, he was more into the music part of it, singing, that type of thing. And then the youngest one was always into the dance part of it. And I think when you have a creative outlet, no matter what it is, even if it's coloring in a coloring book, that can really help with just taking that time to be creative and to have that time to reflect and to just be yourself, I guess, or try to figure out a way to express yourself. Another thing that, I've put painting and crafts. I haven't beaded in a long time because the beads are so small now that it's hard for me to distinguish between like black and dark blue. Getting older, so grandma style, I have a hard time with the colors, and so, but you never know, maybe I might take up knitting. So I think crafts or painting, anything creative, I think that's a good outlet for self-care. I also think fresh air is a good thing. Opening up your windows, letting that fresh air flow through the whole house is a really good thing to do for self-care, just because it refreshes the space you're in. It gives you time to really think about or just enjoy listening to the birds outside the window. That can be really therapeutic, to just listen to nature around you, even if you're inside. I have my list here, I didn't want to forget anything. Tidying your space and decluttering can be a good thing, even if it's just like a small drawer. If you have low energy, that can help your self-care because it makes you feel like you accomplished something. Sorry, my tripod battery died. I had one of those ones that kind of balanced it out, but anyway. So we talked about tidying and decluttering. I also like walking barefoot outside or just bending down and touching the earth. I think the earth is very healing. I think sometimes when we feel overwhelmed or we feel negativity, being able to touch the earth can really help, so that it kind of grounds us, because we're touching the ground. No, okay. Anyway, yeah, a grandma punny. But I think it's really important to do that, or even to just be in nature, to go in the trees, to stop and smell the roses or the flowers. Have those moments of where we're taking that time to really just connect with nature a little bit, listening to the birds, or just going for a walk, whether it's barefoot or not, I think can be really beneficial. I also think that connecting and listening to nature can really soothe us spiritually in our hearts, and I feel like I do that sometimes is because I work at a desk and a day job, that I forget to take those moments to just pause. I really love looking at clouds. That's one of my things with nature, as I love looking at like the sunsets or the sunrises, and I like looking at the clouds and the shapes and the colors that are in them. And I feel like that's that time when I take of just pausing and looking at the clouds and looking at the sky. And I think that to me, that's really self-care, is to just take those moments to just reflect and to think about that. I also think we need things to look forward to. We need to have those goals and plans. So planning for me is self-care. Not necessarily planning down to the hour, even though sometimes I do my weeklies different. But having my planner and being able to have that so that I can plan out, like, okay, I want to take some time to write this day, or I want to take that 15 minutes to work on that painting, or I want to go ride a bike. And that's another thing that I did for self-care. Me and my husband both got bikes, so we've taken some bike rides together, and to me that is just enjoyable. I haven't ridden a bike since I was a teenager, and so thinking of calling it the grandma trolley. No, I'm just joking. I don't know, I just feel like it's enjoyable because I haven't done it in so long, even though it kind of played me out, and I have old knees, so it kind of hurt to bike a little bit, but at the same time it felt really good to bike. I don't know, it was just really interesting to have that experience again, and it was very soothing to ride a bike and to just be outside. We usually go when the sun is kind of setting after I get back from work, and we eat dinner and we relax and we wait till the sun kind of is setting, and then we go ride our bikes, and it is just a really enjoyable moment. And I that is something I look forward to. But I also plan things that I look forward to, like movie nights, or working in my book, or painting that painting, or I try to find things that I really, really look forward to. Another thing is for self-care is I schedule, and I been trying to do priorities so that my schedule's not over full and I don't feel that overwhelmed, because I feel like sometimes I'm one of those people that just like, here's everything I need to do, and then I write a big old list, and then sometimes I just feel so overwhelmed I almost get into inaction. And so I really think it's important, and I know maybe some of you guys feel that way too, is that we need to take those moments to just prioritize. Usually it's 4 things for me. I have a thing for the number 4 and 47. If you've been around a long time, you kind of know that. And so usually I do like 4 items that I really, really want to. I am not filming in a pretty place, but normally another thing for self-care is in my studio. Having the desk I've always dreamed of, to me, is self-care, because I'm not really a materialistic person, but I always wanted one of those rolly top desks, and then I found out my dad wanted one too. Sitting there and kind of playing in my journal, or playing in my planner, anything, you know, just kind of having those moments of, it feels fantasy to me. So that's kind of another self-care thing. Some other people might have a favorite couch that is just like the ultimate place to just cuddle up with a book, or to feel that. I mean, do you guys have that kind of space where, or an item, one like thing? Don't want to like encourage, because we're just talked about decluttering, but at the same time, sometimes there's something that just kind of brings us that joy because we're connected to it in a way. Like that chair, Jay loves curling up in her bed with like her blankets, and she has a couple of like really comfy pillows, and she just curls up in her bed and reads, and that's like her space. And I think that that's really important, that we find that one space that just makes us feel like and another thing is journaling. So with or without prompts, I've done both. I use the daily pages in my planner to do prompt or to talk about a day. Not every day gets talked about, but I do that, or ideals, and just drop everything in here. And I think that that's really important because I feel like it really helps to journal and think about it. And I also created an art journal because I really want to start like doing some fantasy art, and then thinking about what I'm gonna do with that kind of thing, and just kind of doing some self-reflection and doing some fantasy art maybe in there. I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but I did create an art journal so that way I could use that. Reading and relaxing, in that cozy spot, like I said, taking that time to read is really self-care for me, because I don't always give myself that time to just relax and enjoy a book, or to relax and watch a movie. I'm always go, go, go. As the kids used to say, we were a go-go family, and so taking that time is really important to me. I also talk to the trees sometimes and just kind of let everything negativity go out into nature, and then I feel better. I also write stories or poetry like I talked about. Those are self-care because sometimes with the stories, it just lets me not necessarily escape, but to just find this other world that's full of magic, and it's really fun to share that with others, and I feel like that's part of a self-care thing for myself. I also dance when nobody's looking, just for myself. I think motion is a really self-care thing because you can just kick out those, I usually like shake my hands or do that kind of thing, because I feel like movement can really help with self-care to get the negativity out of your body, and to just that type of thing. I do stretching and yoga. I don't do yoga every day, but I think stretching, especially as we're getting older, as I'm getting older, I think stretching is a really important part of self-care, because some days the knees hurt, the back hurts, the shoulders hurt, all my joints hurt, and so stretching and dancing and movement and yoga and all of that can help with my self-care, because I feel like sometimes I joke around, I'm like, oh my god, I'm old, I really feel grandma mode today. And then sometimes my body's like, I don't think about it, and then I'm like, oh, I think I'm a young kid again, and I move a whole bunch of boxes in the archives, or I do something, and then when I get home and I start relaxing, then I'm like, oh my gosh, that was too much. My body feels it. I need to stretch. I need to take care of myself. And so that's something to really, I really do think of as self-care. And then the other last thing that I do for self-care is sometimes, and I don't always initiate it, but it is part of self-care, especially with me and like my daughters, and even my mom or my husband will brush my hair. Having that, you just feel so loved when someone just sits there and just brushes your hair and is gentle with all the tangles, and you just, like Jay would say, she would feel like a cat, and she would just be like, oh. But I love doing that even with especially Jay, just because she enjoys it so much. But I love doing that with the kids because it was just soothing for myself too, to just take a moment to just brush their hair. And then even now, having those moments where I have my hair brushed, I think makes me feel loved, and it's a moment of self-care. I'll even just sit there for a while and just brush my hair with, I have a boar hair brush, really soft bristle, and I just brush my hair for a while. Taking those moments, I think in the past they used to brush their hair like 100 strokes, so I would just sit there, 1, 2, 3, and then I don't think I ever got to 100, but you know. And I think self-care is individual, each of us has something that feels like self-care. Some people like to go get their nails done or do makeup or to do facials, and that's good. I even have some of that in my self-care. I don't always do that, but I think making sure you know that you love yourself, that's an important part of self-care, is even telling yourself, I love you, I know you're doing your best today, and we're just gonna move forward. And I think that that's really important. To part of self-care is to talk positively to yourself, and sometimes that's really hard, but I think it's really important for us, especially as I'm getting into grandma phase and just getting older. I think I've learned a lot about self-care, and to just step away from all that negativity, even if it's people and it's hard. Just taking those moments to know that it's not healthy, and putting myself first. And sometimes that's a really hard thing to do. And I don't know, I just wanted to kind of share with you guys self-care, thinking about it for myself. And I did some notes for myself to really think about self-care, and I put it in my planner, so that's what I was kind of looking at as I was talking about the self-care. I had made myself a list for myself too, to kind of keep looking back at and being like, okay, am I doing that? And I think, I hope everybody has a great day, takes a moment for themselves, and has a really, shines their light bright, and just, I think everybody has that magic, and I hope you find yours. All right, well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.